So recently, I've been getting the criticism more often that my videos are pretentious, or I see myself as above other people in some way. And I don't really know why, other than a few reasons that I've considered or picked out based on other things that people have told me in the past. Is that the first one is that my videos are sometimes more difficult to understand because I use sometimes more complicated or larger words with more sounds, or that words that just aren't used very often, that have more specific meanings. And the reason why I use those words is because I tend to think that those are the best words for the job. Is that I don't use a more complicated word in place of a more simple word that would work just as well. And I do try to word things with simple words as much as I can, just because I think more people understanding the videos is better. But the thing is that so many of these are unscripted and I only do one take. And so when I'm talking just off the top of my head, there's usually going to be a word that I think of just at the time that makes sense, that might be a little bit more complicated, that would explain what I mean just fine, in place of really spending time to think about how I could word the same idea with more simple words. Because even though I am long winded and I spend a lot of time talking in my videos, I don't like rambling on too much. If there's certain things that I can cut out that are unnecessary, I try not to say them. So let's say, for instance, I have a more complicated word that I could use that makes the same point as using, like, I don't know, uh, two sentences of the same idea. Well, there's not really a word that would condense two sentences, but let's say you get like a good 7 words explaining the same thing. Well, you get a little bit of time shaved off of the video. Um, the reason why other words exist, more complex or rare words, the reason why they exist is because they have a specific meaning. They're meant to be used for a specific context. And so I tend to use those words when I think that they're necessary. And obviously, off the top of my head, I might use a word that I could use a combination of more simple words to describe the same idea, but off the top of my head, I just don't have the time to formulate that sentence. I'm just saying things off the top of my head. Um, the other criticism is that some people tend to say that I sound like I look down on my audience, or that I believe that I'm holier than thou or better than other people in my audience. And I don't really know how to sound differently than I do, because I try not to use the language of saying that I'm better than anybody else. I, I, I do not believe that I'm better than most people. I have just as many problems as most other people do. Um, I think I'm better at certain things, like, for example, if you have someone who uh, doesn't know very much about music. Well, there's certain music artists that I know a lot about, and I could be able to tell you a lot about their work and how it was made, and that would be a skill that I would have, recognizing that music and knowing about those artists and being able to explain it to you in depth. It doesn't make me better than anybody else. It just means that I've decided to focus on that specific area and that I care about it. It doesn't make me better than anyone else just because I've decided to focus on that. That's just my interest. It's what I care about. Um, and so just because I have certain opinions on things and I have my own views, it doesn't mean that I'm better than anybody else. It just means that I have those views and I have those interests. Um, I don't try to word things in a way that would come off like I'm better than anybody else. I think I've said for a very long time now, and if you look through the history of my channel, this seems to be the case, is that I've said many, many times that I'm not a particularly smart person because that's true. I make videos on the internet, man. I'm not I'm not outstanding. If I were outstanding, I would do better in school. Um, see, there's another point. Uh, what else was I gonna say? But I don't. I wish people could give an example because usually when people tell me this, they don't give an example. Um, like the closest example I can think of is when I made that video responding to Red's video, where I said that the people in his server were low IQ kind of folks, which was a joke. Um, I didn't literally mean that they have low IQs. I don't believe in the concept of IQ. Like, if you guys watch my videos, you would know that I don't believe in IQ. I don't think IQ is real. So the idea of me calling someone low IQ as an insult like means nothing. It means literally nothing. Um, and so, but I don't really expect anyone to comb through all of my videos just to find one random opinion. Um, like I just said that in jest, I said it kind of being a little bit of a meme, just for kecks. I didn't literally mean you guys have low IQ. Um, I was just sort of doing it for the kecks. It wasn't a very serious statement to make, and given my opinions on IQ, it kind of makes sense. Um, but see, what else was I gonna say? There's another criticism that I. Well, wait, yeah, that video is the one where I think I look the most pretentious, is because I said that his fans have a low IQ. Um, which there is that, what is it, white milk toast bread guy? If I believed in IQ, I would say that the white milk toast liberal, is that what he was called? The guy who said the really creepy stuff to Red and his brother. I mean, I don't think you guys would feel too bad if I said that guy had a low IQ. When I'm talking about people who are dumb in his server, I'm talking about people like that. I'm not really talking about just average everyday people like Beast or KCM or anyone like that. I'm talking about a very specific group of people. Um, see, there was something else I was gonna say, but I wish people would give an example from videos because they had to have heard it somewhere. Like, there had to have been somewhere where I was saying something that sounded pretentious and that didn't quite come out right, but I can't think of an example because I remember my videos pretty well going back through them. Um, but I can't find an example that people are thinking of. The only examples I've found are me doing the opposite. So it's kind of hard where, like, some people they dog whistle stuff. They say things that they say one thing and then they say another in order to make themselves look good. But I've never found an example of myself implying that I was better than everybody else or saying that I was the best guy, or anything like this. I haven't found any implications of that or direct statements of that anywhere. Um, Maybe I'm not looking hard enough. I haven't gone through all of my videos, so there might be a video that I don't know about that says the same thing, but I haven't found it. Um, And sometimes I get people saying that on instincts, their instincts say that I have an ego. Like Monkey in Red's server had said that his instincts had told him that I had an ego. Um, but I don't really know how to respond to that because it's not really criticism. Like, when you're criticizing somebody, you say, okay, this is an example of what you did wrong, this is how you did it wrong, and this is how you can improve at it. but just saying that you have an instinct that someone has an ego isn't really criticism. And then when Comrade had responded to Monkey, he had said, "Oh, yeah, well, what was it exactly Comrade had said? I don't remember. Um, oh yeah, he had said that I had just been pretending to be humble in order to cover up my ego, and then he said because I'm schizophrenic, I'm delusional about being great or getting delusions of grandeur, is that's what it's called in schizophrenia, is that you get delusions of grandeur. I don't really think he understands how my disorder affects me or how the disorder affects different people, because I can't really name a time where I had delusions of grandeur, like thinking I'm like God or close to God or something like that, better than everybody else, great to an irrational degree, those kind of delusions. Um, Usually the people, this is the thing, because I've had other delusions in the past that I've believed that turned out to not be true. Serious, very serious delusions. So when I tend to get them, um, I don't talk like this. When I've gotten really delusional, I become incoherent and I don't sound, I literally don't sound the same as I do here, um, because I'll be hearing or seeing lots of stuff, and that obviously stunts speech and makes it harder to talk in a coherent way. Um, but also, like, I don't think he realizes that the kind of delusions that people have, when they believe them, they believe them. They don't they don't put on a front, like, because what he's saying is that I'm putting on a front, pretending to be humble in order to in order to gain something, like to hide the fact that I have an ego. That's something normal people do. That's something people who are completely functioning do. If you're going to say that I'm delusional, then I would have to show signs of it. I would have to be telling you, yes, I 100% believe that I'm really smart or that I'm a genius or something. um, I would own up to it because I would believe it. It would be a delusion that I believe. That sort of like vulnerable, insecure kind of narcissism that would lead you to want to pretend to be humble publicly. That's not schizophrenia. That's vulnerable narcissism. That's like narcissistic personality disorder, that kind of stuff. That sort of manipulation is in that ballpark. Um, that's not schizophrenia. Um, and so I feel like he doesn't really understand the disorder or how it affects people. Because when I've been delusional in the past and when I've had delusions during psychosis and these kind of things, um, it's never been in that context. It's been something that I've completely believed. Like, for instance, when I thought I was being spied on, I told people that I was being spied on because I believed that I was being spied on. I didn't hide the fact that I believed it because it didn't seem like something to hide. It was completely real to me. If I believe that I'm amazing and I have delusions of grandeur, that would be something that's completely real to me. And so if I'm in that irrational state of mind, what makes you believe that I would have the ability to plan ahead in order to pretend that I don't have an ego and am not great or something? No, I would just believe that I am, and so I would directly state it. Um, so that's one thing. I thought that was really strange. But like he didn't provide any examples. He just kind of said, "Oh, listen to the way this guy talks. He sounds like he's better than everybody else." And is it the tone of voice I use? Like, I don't really know how to change the way that I sound. My voice just sounds one way. I can't change it. I don't intentionally try to talk in like a condescending way, like when a parent is really disappointed in you or mad at you, there's a certain way that they talk, this kind of condescending way. It displays disappointment and, I'm mad, this kind of thing. You know exactly what I'm talking about. I never talk like that in videos. So it's like, is it just the fact that I word things in a in a way that sounds more written, like almost out of a book, or use more specific language, that's really the only thing I can think of. Which people who use those words don't think they're better than everybody else. They just use them because they make sense. They make sense in that context. Maybe there's a more simple way to word it, but there's also a complex way to word it that communicates the same meaning or communicates a better meaning, that those words were made to communicate. So I just say things based off of my instincts when I make a video. I do think about it to an extent, but all of these are unscripted. And so when I'm saying stuff in an unscripted video, I may use a term that, other people don't know, but it's just off the top of my head. That's the word that made sense to me to use there. It doesn't mean that I think I'm better than anybody else just for using my vocabulary. It's just the word that I used. I don't, what other reason would there be? That's what I find kind of confusing. Is that I don't quite understand where the idea comes from, and that's the reason why I'm making this video, is because I get this comment quite often. What is it that makes me pretentious? That's what I want to know. Is that because I see the messages on Discord of people saying it, and they don't really give examples, and I see people in comments or on my stream saying it. So this is why I want to ask, because if there's something that's making me pretentious, I want to be able to change it. I If it's something that I can't change, like just the way my voice is, that's it. There's not much I can do about that. Or if it's like my use of language, I can try and tune it up a little bit to make it sound more simple. But I don't know why I have to dumb down the way that I talk. Like I feel like I feel like with the words that I use, you can look them up and then say, "Oh, that's what that word means," or you can look at the context clues surrounding it and go, "Oh, that's what that means based on the context." It doesn't really seem like that big of a deal to me. Um, Unless maybe people are like listening in the background, and they have my videos on in the background and they don't want to look up something I said. That could be very much a possibility. And maybe that's the problem. Is that maybe I need to be more careful with how I say things. The problem is that like I don't have the ability to think over every single line of dialogue in my videos. I just say it. It's just an instinctual thing. It's unscripted. You try making an unscripted video and like it's just the words that come out of your head. Um, and so if you guys could give examples of where I'm pretentious or where I seem like I have an ego, or where I'm presenting myself as holier than thou, or any of these other things, I would appreciate an example, because I can't, like, I've looked through my videos, I can't find it. I feel like I've tried to give you my genuine feelings, that I don't think I'm better than most people, and that, I don't think I'm hot shit or anything like this. I'm not particularly smart. I just have very specific interests that I care a lot about that other people may not have, but other people have very specific interests that I don't have. And they're really good at understanding those things. Like, if someone comments on my videos and they talk about fishing, and I don't really know anything about fishing, I'm not going to say that they're being a smartass because they explain a whole bunch of stuff about fishing. I just assume, oh, that's their interest. That's what they care about. And so they're talking about it in depth. I don't even really go that in depth in my videos. I mostly just ramble on a lot, which is something I've been trying to get better at, but at the same time, it's also the style of video that I like watching. A lot of my favorite videos tend to be the ones that are rambly, like No Thank You and Zabujard. So I think that's something that's kind of important to remember coming into my channel. And also the fact that I have a very scattered, disorganized brain, so it's kind of hard for me to talk in an organized way, just because I don't really think in an organized way, and so maybe that's also a problem for some people. But I'm just trying to figure out like what am I doing wrong? That's what I want to know. It's if those of you who have this criticism of me could explain what I'm doing wrong, I would appreciate to know because I genuinely don't know. Um, so thank you for listening to 20 minutes of this. I feel like I went on way too long.